Well, on the video too. Yeah, so there's a few other parts of the world experiencing some problems, and I think South America, according to Michael Snyder at the Economic Collapse blog, yeah, South America's in deep trouble. Now we already know, of course, Venezuela, and then now recently Brazil. I know Argentina has been having some issues for a while. You don't really hear about them too much, but you can say the whole freaking continent, generally speaking, not looking too good. And again, I have to ask, if we're going to have this huge recovery, Donald Trump's the man recovery, he's going to fix everything. How could we possibly be the only country on the face of the earth that thrives when everybody else is going to start sucking badly? And already are many of them. This region of the world is being hit by the worst economic collapse it has ever experienced. Listen, let me stop for a second. Do you hear me say things like worst ever, biggest in history, never happened before? Like, you starting to see a little theme here? And I'm not injecting these words to make it gloomier or something, as if like I'm trying to do that on purpose. This is what the data is suggesting. This is what the guys like him are seeing. And this data proves it. Worst economic collapse it has ever experienced? Interesting. The 9th largest economy in the world, entire world, is currently experiencing its longest and deepest recession in recorded history. And in a country right next door, people are being encouraged to label their trash so that the thousands upon thousands... Oh, no. I saw that and I'm like, label their trash. For easy government, pickup, trash pickup? No. Right, no sooner than I had that thought come in, I realized, no, I know what that's for. Yep. Anyways, and in the country right next door, people are being encouraged to label their trash so that the thousands upon thousands of desperately hungry people that are digging through the trash bins on the streets can find discarded food more easily. Of course, the two nations that I'm talking about are Brazil and Venezuela. The Brazilian economy was once the 7th largest on the globe, but after shrinking for 8 consecutive quarters, it has now fallen to 9th place. And in Venezuela, the economic collapse has gotten so bad that more than 70% of the population lost weight last year due to a severe lack of food. Can I just say something? Forgive me if I upset you. 70% of the population lost weight? There's a country I can think of, comes right to mind, that would do very, very well for 70% of the population to lose weight. Take a guess of which nation I'm talking about. I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man, except the Venezuelans, except the Brazilians, and a whole host of other people. So, most of us living in the Northern Hemisphere don't think that anything like this could happen to us anytime soon. But the truth is that trouble signs are already starting to erupt all around us. It is just a matter of time before the things currently happening in Brazil and Venezuela start happening here. But unfortunately, most people are not heeding the warnings. Just a few years ago, the Brazilian economy was absolutely roaring, and it was being hailed as a model for the rest of the world to follow. But now Brazil's GDP has been imploding for 2 years in a row, and this downturn is being described as the worst recession in history for that South American nation. And he links to something from Russia Today. Latin America's largest economy, Brazil, has contracted by 3.6% in 2016, shrinking for the second year in a row. Statistics agency IBGE said on Tuesday. It confirmed the country is facing its longest and deepest recession in recorded history. Data shows gross domestic product fell for the 8th straight quarter in the 3 months to December, down 0.9% from the previous quarter. Well, that's right. I know another country that has had 10 years of GDP revisions all in one fell swoop last year. It's called the USA. We couldn't even hit the bare minimum target. They revised them all down. I've mentioned this 100 times now. And I said, how did you miss that for 10 years? How did you feed us that line of crap for 10 years straight? And then in the 10th year, let's just be honest with everybody. We're revising this year, but by the way, bonus time, we're revising the last 9 years too. Oh, okay, thanks. But the other numbers we give you, they're real. Trust those. When we say there's 5% unemployment, trust us. That's real. It's real. Sure. Sure it is. The figure was worse than the 0.5% decline economists had forecast and left the country's overall GDP down 3.6% for the full year, following a 3.8% drop in 2015. In real terms, GDP is now 9% below its pre-recession peak, Neil Shearing, chief emerging markets economist at Capital Economics, told the Financial Times. This is comfortably the worst recession in recorded history, he said. Comfortably. Okay, it's a good word to use there. It had been hoped that things in Brazil would be getting better by now, but instead they just keep getting worse. The number of bankruptcy filings have soared to all-time high records, and the official unemployment rate has more than doubled since the end of 2013. And the following comes from Wolf Richter, the Wolf Street site. In a stunning deterioration, the unemployment rate in Brazil spiked to 12.6% in the rolling 3-month period through January, a record in the new data series going back to 2012. According to Brazil's statistical agency, IBGE, up from 11.8% in the 3-month period through October, up from an already terribly high 9.5% a year ago, and more than double the 6.2% in December of 2013. Meanwhile, hordes of hungry people are rummaging through garbage cans in Venezuela in order to find something to fill their aching stomachs. Things have gotten so bad that one of President Maduro's chief opponents has urged citizens to label which trash bags have food in them, so the people that are searching through the garbage can find food scraps more easily. Well, that's mighty. President Maduro's chief opponents. Boy, that'll win you the campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, pick me. I'll give you good advice. Like what? Label your trash cans for the people who are rummaging through them. Oh, yeah, you need to be president. We want you in there. Such a kind heart. Label the trash for the people, for the starving masses. Controversial priest. Oh, I don't want to hear this. When I hear the word priest in Catholic Church, it's not going there, though, don't worry. Controversial priest and opponent to President Nicolas Maduro's administration, Father Jose Palmer, posted on social media this week about labeling discarded waste so those looking through it for food can do so more easily and with dignity. Listen, priest. What was his name? Father, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Nobody picking through somebody else's trash, trying to find food, whether labeled or not labeled, would ever be doing so with dignity. It's kind of like saying I'm eating a dog turd with dignity and pride, with a smile. I'm happy about this. You just can't do that. And previously I have written about how people are so hungry in Venezuela that some of them are actually slaughtering and eating cats, dogs, pigeons, and zoo animals. And I'm sure you guys remember old Jay Snip4 reading that little story to you about the prized black stallion or whatever the hell it was. Remember that? The prized stallion horse. The people jumped over the fence or whatever wall in the zoo, slaughtered the horse. The prize black Arabian, whatever, it wasn't like some kind of Arabian, black Arabian, super expensive horse. Slaughtered it. Not because they're evil, they're starving to death. And the zoo manager and them, they were upset about it. There's animals. And then in the same sentence, they're saying, but the animals are also starving. We haven't gotten our food from the government, for the animals either. They're already, like a week behind. I don't know about you, but zoo animals normally compared to human beings are a tiny bit bigger, a little bit larger. A week of not eating for one of those freaking mooses. Moose as in large animal. That's my definition of a large animal. God, that thing's a moose. Okay. I think they're a little more hurting. So the people thought, well, before they get too skinny, let's eat them. More meat. Better for us. That old thing. I keep telling people that this is coming to America. But a lot of people out there don't want to believe me. But it is most certainly coming. Thanks to chronically empty store shelves and severe food shortages, people in Venezuela are losing weight at an astounding pace. In the United States, it would be a good thing if much of the population... Oh, he got there. I beat him to it, but he got there. In the United States, it would be a good thing if much of the population lost this much weight. But in Venezuela, it definitely is not. 3/4 of the country's population lost an average of over 18 pounds over food shortages in 2016, according to a survey by Venezuelan universities and nonprofit groups. Last year, over 80% of foodstuffs disappeared from shelves, and many had to get by with one meal a day, Foreign Policy reported. Venezuela was once South America's most powerful petrostate, but decades of government mismanagement sent the country into decline. Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chavez, choked the economy with heavy-handed regulations, price controls, and a campaign to nationalize major industries that chased out foreign investments. Further north, very alarming signs are starting to pop up in our southernmost neighbor, Mexico. It probably won't happen next week or next month, but there are indications of emerging liquidity problems which could precipitate a major debt crisis at some point. Now, I read a piece of this the other day because I just had a little piece of it to talk to you about, not in this context here. But it reminded me, and I'm going to say it again, of the David Wilkerson story, the guy that said, it was going to go down in Europe first, the euro would go, then in a few weeks it would be America, but first the triggering event, you would see this as like a precursor. It would be a southern country such as Mexico, he said. They're going to default on like $100 billion, and that's going to trigger some things, and it's going to spread, and then they're going to get it over there in the EU, and it's going to come over here. That was this big vision he had or whatever. David Wilkerson, I think, was the name of that guy. So the key thing here, in Mexico, foreign investors hold around $100 billion of the country's local currency government debt. In this Wilkerson guy mentioned, I think, $100 billion being defaulted on. That's an interesting number, isn't it? The most for any emerging market economy. So let's talk about that. The most for any emerging market economy, which means all the other South American emerging market economies don't hold a candle to Mexico. So for that guy to point out Mexico, $100 billion vision, J-Snip 4, you may want to wait. You may want to hold off on the whole ultralight, light sport aircraft thing you've been talking about. May want to save a couple dollars. Rainy day may be coming a little bit sooner than we think. That's almost 20 times what it was 20 years ago, by the way, for Mexico. They also hold billions of euros worth of corporate bonds, which are also showing signs of strain, prompting some Mexican business leaders to call for new programs to be implemented before the situation causes a large-scale crisis among Mexican companies, which I told you the other day. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And like most governments and people, they're reactionary, so they won't do anything in time. The most ominous sign yet came last week when Bloomberg reported sources say that the Bank of Mexico, or Banxico, as it's referred to, had sought a swap line from the Federal Reserve in case of liquidity problems, which is something I mentioned the other day in my other video, which immediately triggered furious denials from Mexico. I can say clearly and unequivocally that we are not in the process of asking for any credit line from any authority, said the central bank's governor, who has postponed by 6 months his departure from the bank initially scheduled for May. And he's got to stick around. He's going to have a little problem to deal with. He's going to have to stick around. One of the biggest problems for nations such as Brazil, Venezuela, and Mexico is the strength of the U.S. dollar. During the good times, they went into tremendous amounts of debt, and much of that debt was denominated in U.S. dollars. So when the U.S. dollar becomes stronger, it takes more of their local currencies to pay that debt back. And what was that thing about Mexico had 100 billion in foreign? Yeah. And if the Federal Reserve raises rates, interest rates, at the next meeting, and we think they're supposed to, right? Just in a few days from now, that will strengthen the US dollar even more and put even more pressure on emerging market economies. Unfortunately, it appears that this is precisely what the Fed is going to do. Even one small interest rate increase by the Fed could have a sweeping impact on US and world economies, Kamal Sri Kumar told CNBC on Monday. Quote, I think they're going to hike. On March 15th, Sri Kumar said on Squawk Box, echoing a theory shared by many analysts. But that is going to prompt capital outflows from the Eurozone, especially with the political risk. It is going to increase the capital outflow from China, and the U.S. economy will feel the impact. The global economy is more interconnected than ever before, and pain that starts in one region can rapidly spread to others. The biggest debt bubble that the world has ever seen is starting to burst. And over the coming years, we are going to see financial pain on a scale that would be unimaginable to most of us at this moment. But even now, there are those that would suggest that this colossal debt bubble can continue growing much faster, by the way, than global GDP indefinitely. And this sort of exceedingly reckless optimism is leading many astray. Michael Snyder, that is a Big Ten for. That's why I've been doing these videos for so long. Saw this coming just as he has. Long time ago. And believe me, I know, man, it's been years. Nothing's happened, man. Nothing's happened. It's been years, man. Still nothing. If I had a balloon, just a typical party balloon, birthday party, and I had a little pump, instead of huffing and puffing myself, I just do a little pump it up. I kept pumping it. Not too fast. A couple periods I really got on it like, let me really pump that baby up. Okay, slow down. Actually, no, we can't. Debt problems, quantitative easing, mortgage buybacks, printing money more. Debt ceiling, kick the can, pump it. Would you say to yourself, man, that bubble, which I've seen when it was what it was 8 years ago, when it was scary then, thought it was going to pop actually, and it didn't, it's now blown up even larger. And as a matter of fact, it's blown up so much larger, I never thought a balloon could blow up that high before it would pop. That's the visual sign you get. In other words, the data that I'm reading you every day, the data says that balloon shouldn't even be able to go that high. But it's there. So you would naturally say that sucker has got to be ready to pop any day now. It's already past the breaking point of the balloon and it's still not broken. I don't know how this is happening. Would you say, well, since it got that high and it didn't pop, hell, it could go a lot higher and not pop? Or would you sit back and say, you guys can get next to that thing if you want. When that thing blows, I don't want to be running popping by me. No way. I'm out. Right. That's what you would normally want to do. So that is the analogy of what has happened in real life with all this debt, government borrowing, budget problems. Again, they keep kicking that can because they have no other way to deal with the debt. Donald Trump cannot any way, anyhow, any kind of way come in here and do anything that's going to make our debt go down. There's no chance. Governments have to borrow enormous amounts of money now. All the extra tax money that the government used to get on gasoline when it was $1, etc., or $100 on the barrel, it's now 50, 40, 42, 39, 50, 42, 45. All that extra tax money, gone. All the governments around the world that had oil, gone. Same story. This is a worldwide phenomena. It's not really a phenomenon. This is an agenda. It appears to be a phenomenon. It's an agenda to get each nation, or even the mass majority, you don't have to have every single nation, but they're certainly doing a good job on every single nation, into the most absurd, obscene amount of debt they can get them into, and then pop that bubble. And then say, after everyone's feeling massive pain, we got a solution, one world currency. And you will beg, You will beg for it. The average person will beg. Make the pain stop. Give me a job. I'll do anything. Got to feed my kids. I'll accept anything. Well, okay. We got a solution. One world currency. It's backed by gold, though, everybody. It's backed by gold. Oh, okay. That's good. The gold bugs are happy, right? Oh, okay. And when all of our silver and gold prices skyrocket, are we going to be real upset about that? No. We got ours. Gold and silver, we're happy now. We waited all these years. I told you one day you're going to come out and thank Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan for rigging the market, for allowing you to get cheap silver all these years, even though you've been upset by the takedowns, 23,000 contracts sold, $2 billion in a matter of minutes. I know. It can be painful if you're not understanding what's happening and what they do. Not painful. It's typical. Accept it, respect it, and get over it. Those are the three things you can do about it, most stuff. And thank JP Morgan also, I'll add a fourth one, for allowing you to get that silver cheap. So when it does skyrocket, and you may have a ton of money, and you may be up buying assets all over, hard assets, while everyone else is in pain, and then they announce New World Order, backed by, or New World Monetary System, backed by gold, you're not going to care. You're not really going to care that much. Oh, I made all my money, I got my silver, everything's fine. I warned all you sheep about this, you didn't listen. Facebook, you told me to shut up. Okay. I'm glad you guys are feeling pain and not me. That's what you're going to feel. And even if you want to fight it, you can't, because everybody else who's feeling that pain, which is like 90-something% of everybody, they're going to be the one that say, yes, do it. We want to make the pain stop. So even if you want to fight it, you won't win. Take care.